All right, are you guys ready for permanent DEFCON 2? I hope so. This is Chicken Little giving you the breaking news once again, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about that nobody else is talking about at all. I got to phone this one in today. I got things to do, and so do you, so let's just cut the bullshit, get right to the chase here. We have to talk about the drone attacks that are ongoing in Moscow. As we speak, they're shooting down drones there. Okay, this has become a nightly, daily occurrence. Now, what happens next concerns me. Not much scares me in life. I know a lot of you guys think Chicken Little cowers in the corner, trembling in fear every single night after he gives you the daily update. Nothing is farthest from the truth. In fact, as a prepper, I'm as prepared as I'm going to be. And having that information, being ahead of the information curve, is empowering. It's not disempowering, and it shouldn't be. If you find yourself walking away from these videos depressed and feeling powerless, then, my friend, you should get another hobby. This is for people who want to be empowered. Anyways, what's happening in Moscow and what the Kremlin is about to impose there is very concerning. Right now in Ukraine, as some of you know, you cannot take video. And I don't think you can take video at all and upload it to the internet. You might be able to, but you certainly can't take video footage of attacks on buildings and things of that nature for national security. It's because they want to control the narrative. Let's quit bullshitting ourselves. That's exactly why they're doing it. Russia is about to do the same thing. So we have this fog of war in Ukraine. Nobody knows what's going on. I've never seen a video of a hospital in Ukraine. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but you would think that those things would be overflowing right now. Why aren't we seeing any videos of that? We're going to see the same thing happen in Russia right now, and that's concerning when the fog of war descends on Moscow and that digital iron curtain is pulled and they impose their own firewall like the Chinese do, and they ban YouTube and they ban people from uploading what's actually happening there on the internet. That's when we're in a permanent state of DEFCON 2, because we don't know how bad it's actually getting there. These drone attacks are becoming so frequent that they're getting ready to make it illegal to, I think they've already, if they haven't already done it, but they're getting ready to make it illegal to film these drone attacks in Moscow, okay? Which means that they predict that it's going to get worse, that the war is going to continue to come there, and you would only do this in a theater of war. So you see this insidious slow creep of martial law in its fullest form being imposed on Moscow and in other parts of Russia. And it signals that this is not going to be, we're not just going to find out one day that Russia has declared war. It is going to be very gradual, and there's never going to be any date where it ceases to be a special military operation and it becomes a war. They're going to keep on playing these games until we find ourselves, as Douglas McGregor said yesterday, the Poles are looking across the border and they see nothing but Russians. And that's when the shit's going to get real. So this is a big story. It's not getting a lot of attention, but understand that Russia is seeking to ban footage of increasingly regular attacks, drone attacks on its soil. They're saying that these drone attacks are coming from inside and outside. So is there a potential for civil unrest to still persist in Russia? If that is the case, an unstable Russia, a nation armed to the teeth with nuclear weapons, I think they're going to start giving more of a serious look to Sergei Karagov's, I can't remember, I always mess up Russian names, but the academic who proposed that we should use a nuclear weapon in order to escalate, to de-escalate, show the West we mean business, hope that they pull back. It's very likely that they're going to exercise that option if this continues. Now, just today, again, nobody's talking about this at all yet. You heard it here first. I'm going to make sure you and your family gets in the bunker first, guys. You better believe it. Valery Zaluzny, Lazarus, back from the dead. He was out inspecting nuclear bunkers today. In fact, newly built nuclear bunkers. Now, why on earth would they need newly built tactical nuclear-proof bunkers in and around Ukraine to house up to 2,100 of the top brass? Not the civilians that are going to be going down with the sinking ship, just the top brass. Doesn't the saying go, the captain always goes down with its ship? Well, when it comes to continuity of government, hell no. They're going to save themselves at your expense. 2,100 capacity, 21 bunkers Each of these bunkers can hold 100 people across all locations, including Kiev, Odessa, Uzhgorod, Lviv, Nikolaev, and another city I can't pronounce. They're building tactical nuclear-proof bunkers. They've built them. The Swedes did. They built these tactical nuclear-proof bunkers all around Ukraine. We know that the nuclear sensors are put up all around Ukraine. We know Lindsey Graham, Senator Blumenthal, set the precedent. If you use a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, NATO is going to enter the war. The insidious nature of this whole thing is just absolutely staggering. And if you ain't prepping, man, you stupid. Now, speaking of that, National Civil Defense exercise about to commence in T-minus a few hours in South Korea, because it's supposed to kick off at 2 o'clock on August 23rd. I'm not sure what time it is there. It could have already happened for all I know. But this is important because this is millions of people simultaneously descending into the subterranean levels into their bomb shelters. For 15 minutes, starting from 1400, residents must evacuate to a nearby shelter and listen to radio broadcasts. So they're going to get a message on their phone. This isn't the first time this has been done on the Korean Peninsula. Apparently it was done 8 years ago or so, and they use the same happy-go-lucky minimizing infographic that makes it look like it's just fun for the whole family. And yeah, nuclear war is a fun time for everybody, right? But they do have the police with a little cartoon baton there. I guess that's somewhat authoritative. Anyways, could you imagine if they tried to do this here? Could you imagine if they tried to do a civil defense exercise of this scope and scale here? It would be chaos. Half the people wouldn't believe the government. Half the people would believe it was a conspiracy, right, just to get us all locked down in the bunkers and throw away the key. The other half would be upstairs looting and pillaging and stealing and robbing people and taking advantage of the situation. This would never fly here. No, these people are going to proceed in a very neat and orderly fashion for 15 minutes. They're going to do so compliantly. There's going to be no issues. And they're going to come back up to the surface unless this is actually real world and it is an exercise like the North Koreans are saying it is. They are saying that nuclear war is imminent. Top generals in the North Korean military are saying nuclear war is imminent. Never before has an exercise like this been conducted in a set of circumstances that are as precarious as we're seeing right now on the Korean Peninsula. You have a nuclear submarine there, a submarine armed with nuclear missiles, the United States. Why is all this happening? You have this buildup. Kim Jong-un has, 36 nuclear missiles now. They're threatening to shoot a satellite into space, a satellite in the coming days. The U.S. is saying that's illegal, which doesn't even make sense to me, how, you can arbitrarily, unilaterally impose law on other countries. It just doesn't make sense. The North Koreans, of course, are going to do it. Is it going to be shot down? Is it going to be mistook as a ICBM? Is it going to be mistook as a weapon that is, putting up an EMP weapon? The North Koreans already have satellites up in the sky, not in the sky, but, in space that are not sending back signals. And that's what's concerning a lot of the U.S. military on the strategic level, is that this might have an EMP bomb on it already. So something is going on with this, and I'm sure it's probably going to pass. It's just going to be another civil defense exercises that they conducted, but tensions are at an all-time high. They're doing this while simultaneously doing a joint naval exercise, a big military drill involving tens of thousands of soldiers. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the North Koreans will assume that this is real world and they will respond. And that's not going to be good for anybody, okay? So we also have the global rice crisis worsening as India mulls over new export restrictions. As you know, as I told you last month, India has restricted the export of non-basmati variants, okay? So they're still going to export the basmati rice, but they're not exporting or are they exporting the basmati? I can't remember which one it is. Either way, India makes up 40% of rice exports. This has caused the price of rice to spike significantly, and now they're saying that they might even restrict or increase taxes to the export of parboiled rice. So something is going on in India. And I was talking to a cashier who works in India. Always talk to cashiers, especially the ones in your neighborhood. You get to know who they are, get to know what they're about. They'll tell you about things that are going on in their countries if they're immigrants. Anyways, he was telling me that for some reason, his government is stockpiling food because he has family back home in India. And he's saying, yeah, the government, for some reason, I didn't want to, tell him, didn't want to go on the whole rabbit hole of prepping. But he's like, yeah, for some reason, the government is stockpiling food right now. And they're stockpiling grains. They're stockpiling whatever they can get. Now they've banned the export of rice. Well, why do you think they're doing this? Well, for starters, they're having a lot of climate issues there, okay? They're having all kinds of droughts and they're having problems growing stuff, and you got a population that's growing still, and it's the largest population in the world, 1.5 billion people on a landmass, which relatively compared to what we got over here is quite small. So they're worried. They're probably also worried about global instability. If this war breaks out, how is India going to feed its population? Well, it's going to have to restrict its exports to avoid a hyperinflationary situation at home. It doesn't take much to create hyperinflation when it comes to food and domestic food prices, because it's all about bidding. If you have 1% of people who are going without, they will pay anything to get that final bit of food, and that bids the price all the way up. So it's not just a 1% increase because there's a 1% shortfall. It's potentially a 200% increase from a 1% shortfall. If there's a 10% shortfall, then it's riots. It's total riots. With a country of 1.5 billion people, if you can't feed 1% of those people, that's what, 15 million people rioting in the streets for food? It's going to get ugly. So already, we're at the levels of white rice price from Thailand is at 2011 levels. 2008 was the worst. So we may well be going back to that. Of course, the banking system is teetering on the brink. Something is going to break. I know there's a lot of bulls deluding themselves right now, thinking that, oh yeah, it's time to buy. Okay, sure. It's your funeral. That's all I'm going to say. Of course, this is a Zero Hedge article. And what's the first thing they say? India, the biggest rice exporter, wrestles with soaring food inflation and the damaging effects of El Nino. Interesting. Guess what? El Nino just started. This is not El Nino. Was it El Nino last year when there were droughts on every single continent? When they were uncovering ancient relics from like thousands of years ago in China? Was that El Nino? No. But of course, Zero Hedge and their politically charged editors over there will always sort of try to twist this and minimize the fact that things are getting hotter on the baseline. And now that El Nino is going to be added onto it, and as we actually go into El Nino next year, and El Nino spikes next year, we're going to see fires, we're going to see temperatures that we've never seen before, put it that way. So, oh man, you guys ain't seen nothing yet. Keep on prepping, man. Don't think you're going to get over this fire season and people are going to think, oh, it's over now. No, actually, this weekend it's going to get a lot worse for the fires here in Canada, unfortunately. Russian fighter jets drove 2 reconnaissance drones away from Crimea. Who would have thunk that? I just said that. Jeez. I just said this was going to happen. And it happened. And the problem with this is that this time it was an MQ-9 Reaper, one of the ones that flies around that we always show you on flight radar, but also a TB2 Bayraktar from Turkey. Now, the Ukraine military was using these, as far as I know, earlier on in the war. And the Russians were shooting them down left and right. My concern is, if you got Turkey with their spy planes up there, for starters, that's weird. And it's not at all out of character for Turkey to be playing both sides of the fence like this, trying to make deals with Putin while at the same time surveying the area for NATO. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyways, if this is Turkey and it gets shot down because the Russians think it's a Ukrainian Bayraktar, I don't know if they have a way of identifying it or what, if there's a call sign or something. I'm sure there is. I'm sure they got the transponder on. That's how they know. But accidents can happen. One of these days, one of these things is going to get shot down. Again, they already brought one down. They're going to have to shoot it down. Attacks are coming on Moscow every single night. If you don't think this situation is getting out of control, I know some of you think it's a big show. It's the Matrix. Listen, all those people talking about the Matrix, are full of shit. I'm telling you right now, the only empowering thing that you can do is focus on what you yourself can do. If you want to believe that there's shadowy figures smoking cigars in some room that control your destiny, that's fine with me. I'll see you in a few years when you're in the exact same place, going down those rabbit holes, and you've gotten nowhere in life. The only thing you can do, and this is what I hate, this is the contradiction. Okay, I see with people like Andrew Tate are always talking about the matrix this, the matrix that. You don't empower somebody. A part of his message is good, but you don't empower somebody if anytime things start going wrong in your life, you start blaming, oh, it's the man trying to keep me down, it's the machine, it's the matrix, it's this and that. No, maybe it's something you did. Maybe it's something about you that is not working. Maybe you got to change something about yourself. You got to take responsibility, self-accountability to the fullest extent possible. Not the matrix is trying to take me down. Maybe you're talking shit about something that you shouldn't talk about. You know, I mean, don't throw stones in a glass house. Not saying you're necessarily wrong about everything, but this is something to consider, right? There's ways to navigate and finesse the system. And if you're just going to spout off some shit and you know you're going to get banned and you get banned and then you complain about it like some guys on YouTube here recently did, I mean, what did they think was going to happen? The shit these guys were doing on their channel, of course it was going to happen. You brought it on yourself, man. Like, fuck. Anyways, sorry off the little tangent though, guys. But I'm telling you right now, you're gonna rack your brain. You're gonna squirrel cage on that for years and years. You're gonna get nowhere. And anytime, this is a natural thing that human beings do. Whenever it gets tough, really tough, I'm talking really tough now, whenever it seems like there's forces acting against you, we immediately go to the scapegoat of it must be some plot, must be some conspiracy against me. Now, if that helps you, motivates you to be a better person and get ahead, great. But for 90% of people, it's debilitating. So all I'm saying is, whenever things aren't going your way in life, ask yourself what I can do differently. Leave it at that. 1 million soldiers near Lvov, according to Douglas McGregor, who's been wrong about half the things he says, but I got to respect him anyways. He's a smart man. He says that within a year's time, we are going to see Russians looking over the border into Poland. What happens after that is anybody's guess. He was on the Tucker Carlson show on Twitter, I believe, or X, or whatever the hell it's called. Ukraine, national assets of the Russia has seized national assets of the Ministry of Defense of Belarus. I'm not sure if that's billions or millions or what it is, but it's right in line with the State Department's travel advisory, level 4, advising American citizens not to go to Belarus because of things that are starting to ramp up on the border there. Now, somebody advised me yesterday when I made that video that indeed this level 4 travel advisory has happened in the past. Well, it's happened during COVID once, and I think at that time there was some civil unrest there. There was concerns of a civil war starting in Belarus. You know, you had the guys with the what is it called, OHOM or whatever, suits on with masks, putting old ladies in vans and stuff. And the other time was last January 2022, right before the war started. So if they're saying don't go there again, it's probably because shit's about to pop off. We know that the borders are about to be closed to the Baltic states, signaling that, war could break out in that direction at any given time. So all I'm saying is stay ready and stay up, take personal responsibility. That is how you're going to get ahead in life. There's people who are making money off of telling people that it is some group of shadowy people somewhere, and they exploit people. They tell you what you want to hear, and at the end of the day, when you think about it, they're saying this message which is partly empowering, but if they're not telling you to take full responsibility, not looking at all about what anybody else is doing, you're not going to change that, man. I did not want this to be a pep talk, guys. All I want to say is that if you want to support this channel, don't bother with the super chats. Go pick yourself up some premium, high-quality survival gear from CanadianPreparedness.com. Right now, we have a special on and you're going to get yourself a free survival garden, 15,000 seeds. And when I say free, I mean it. We didn't adjust the price or anything like that. This is like a $50, $60 value depending on where you buy it. And the reason why we're doing that is because we get new batches in every year. These are going to be perfectly good for years to come. You can put this in a cold, dark place in the basement, just like the Svalbard Seed Vault will probably last for years, if not decades. Okay, so go and get yourself some gear. Every gear that we use, I always envision myself, before I make a deal with a manufacturing company or a distributor, I ask myself, if I was in the worst, in the shits of shit, schnitzel hitting the fitzel situation, could I use this to survive? Is it going to break on me? And if I determine that it's not going to work, then I'm not going to sell it. I don't want to have my name attached to that. I've sent a lot of stuff back. For that very reason, everything we have in-house is ready for the apocalypse, so go check it out. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe. Take responsibility, and you will get where you want to go. Okay? Take care. Bye.